The troops that are being deployed here are not being deployed for our purposes. We did not request through the sheriff, through the mutual aid system, for National Guard troops. What are the troops in LA to do? And that is unclear to pretty much everybody at this time.
That's the LAPD police chief basically saying unclear what these troops are supposed to do, and they don't need them. We are joined now by Congressman Seth Moulton of Massachusetts. He's a veteran, a former U.S. Marine captain who served 4 tours of duty in Iraq. As mentioned, is now a lawmaker, so really at the intersection of these questions. Welcome.
Good to see you, Ari.
Should the Marines be on the streets of L.A. tonight?
No, they should not, because Trump is breaking the law to send them there. This is clearly against every provision in the law which requires an insurrection to send Marines into a city. There's no insurrection going on. There are violent protests, but not an insurrection. It's also not what the Marines are trained to do, and they haven't been requested by anyone in Los Angeles. Remember, Trump and the Republicans are supposedly the party of states' rights, right? We're not even going to make sure that we preserve the right for women to make their own health care choices nationwide. But here we're going to shove active duty troops down the throats of L.A., whether they want them or not.
Yeah, and it looks like what you see out of a military state. It looks like the exact thing that most presidents have said. We fight abroad and defend at home. That you don't want to live in a place where military war tools are being used against the domestic citizenry.
Well,
go ahead.
Unless you're Donald Trump, though, because this is Donald Trump's dream. He's never respected what we Marines do overseas. Remember, this is the guy who attacked John McCain for getting captured in Vietnam, right? He's never respected what Marines do overseas, but he's always wanted to use them to enforce his political agenda here at home. This is a dream for him. And not only is it using troops, politicizing the military for his political goals, but it's also distracting everybody's attention from what should be the big story of the week, which is this disastrous bill he's shoving through Congress that's going to take health care away from millions of people while exploding the deficit. So this is exactly Trump's playbook. This is exactly what he wants to do. The rest of us need to stand up for the Constitution and the law.
The written powers that he claims to do this assert that he could do it anywhere in the country, not just in California. The deployment of the Marines is the first time that's happened in a long time, and certainly in this term. Do you view this as a test case? The courts may stay out of it for a lot of reasons, including if it kind of calms down. Judges love a mootness argument. They love to say, well, this was a problem 2 weeks ago, not today. We'll deal with it when it comes up. And so we may not get a negative precedent out of this. We may just get a few Marines. I mean, 700 is not like what we had in Iraq or what you've done. A few Marines were there once, and he could do it again. Do you view that as a problem where they're exploiting the fact that the courts may not act quickly to then claim a precedent for something that wasn't actually authorized?
Absolutely, and we know he's wanted to do this since his first term when he asked then chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mark Milley, why he couldn't just shoot protesters in the legs when they were protesting out in front of the White House. His chairman, Milley, and Secretary of Defense at the time told him, you can't do that. Well, now he's handpicked Pete Hegseth as Secretary of Defense, who wrote a book about politicizing the military, because I think Donald Trump believes that if he asks that question of Pete Hegseth, he'll say, go ahead and shoot.
You've written and warned about your view of exactly that politicization. Reading from a piece you wrote in February, you said Trump doesn't care about the rule of law. He doesn't want military officers who do care about it getting in his way. That's the difference between a dictatorship and a democracy. You wrote that early on here because you were concerned we could be heading towards the end of a term where if he and the Republicans, let's say there's a Republican successor, be it his vice president or someone else, if they win fair and square, that's the system. If they lose, we have the history that last time he didn't accept that, and now he's trying to involve the military more. What are the guardrails, and what is Congress doing to make sure that the military stays out and then follows the lawful transition of power, at the end of any such term?
I mean, candidly, Ari, Congress is doing nothing because under Republican leadership, they won't even touch this. They have absolutely no courage to stand up for the Constitution that they swore an oath to protect and defend. And so Trump is burning the Constitution. He's running all over it. And we already know that he's perfectly willing to overthrow democratic elections. Now we know he's willing to use the military. You put those two things together and you have a classic dictatorship where the guy at the top uses the military for political ends to get his way. That's not a democracy. That's a dictatorship. And clearly that's what Trump has in mind.
Wow. The other piece of this is not at that grand scale, but it's something you know a lot about. And I wanted to ask you is, what about the perspective of people who sign up for our military, who serve as you did, but they make a commitment to go serve under certain plans and rules, certainly a code of conduct. Very few of them are ever told, by the way, you might have to walk around L.A. with rules on the fly and take your weapons of war and try not to kill anybody. But if you get attacked, who knows? What do you view the bind that this order and this effort puts these Marines in right now?
No Marine signs up for this. No Marine signs up to attack fellow Americans. Trump doesn't understand that, of course, because he dodged the draft. He let someone else go to Vietnam in his place. But Marines don't want to be there. Marines don't want to be doing this. And frankly, I'll tell you, as a Marine veteran and a sitting lawmaker, I have never gotten more questions from active duty officers about how to think about disobeying orders, because they know they may very well have to disobey an unlawful order from the commander-in-chief.
Really appreciate your experience and quite frankly, your candor tonight on some of these tough issues. Congressman Moulton, thank you so much.